A Court of Fairies and Fiction. ACOFAF Girls Podcast. Hosts Mel Liv and Aka. A bookish theory and discussion podcast for the ACOTAR, Crescent City, and Tug series, as well as other romantasy books. Season 3, Episode 1, Prythian Predictions.
Hello, everybody. We popped on to film because it's been a while. I wanted to go over a theory I saw on TikTok yesterday when I was at work. And it was super interesting, actually. And I don't know how I didn't catch this, but when it's about Eris and Nesta's maid dagger. And so when Cassian first sees the dagger, he describes it a certain way. And I don't have the quotes because I wasn't planning on talking about this, but he describes it a certain way, and you know how it crackles and it kind of calls to Eris's magic and everything like that. And it's kind of I think it was the darker blade, because I think that was the match to some other thing that Nesta made. But then they mentioned that when we see it on his hip during the Koshi scene, it's described completely differently. And so they're like, I think that Eris, or I don't know, maybe his spies, I don't know, kind of found out what Breland was going to do with the blood right, and he planted the maid dagger in that tree for Nesta.
Ooh.
Because remember, the dagger that she finds in the right was also kind of crackling. And I was like, because they put all these screenshots of how Cassian and I think it was Rhys said multiple times that if Eris has the dagger with him, it will protect him from other made objects, right? Because it's a made object. But yet he was under the thrall of the crown.
Wait a minute. If Eris has that knife, it'll protect him against other made objects. What about Elaine's ring? Would that protect her against other made objects?
Probably. Yeah. So I was like, what? Because I was like, well, then he was under the thrall of the crown. And they're like, and this would make sense since the dagger hanging off his hip is described differently by Azriel than Nesta's maid one was by Cassian. So she's like, I think it's a completely different dagger. And that's why it didn't protect him from the crown, because he planted it in the blood right for Nesta, to protect Nesta.
Okay, well...
And I was like, this actually makes sense, though. But then my only question about that, or my only two questions about that, is one, if he had found out that Breland was going to kidnap them into the blood right, why wouldn't he tell Rhys and Farah? Unless he couldn't get away from the Autumn Court for some reason, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the fine line thing. And two, again, if he knew about it and he knows that Gwen is his kid, I don't think he would have let it happen.
I agree with that.
So, but it works if he doesn't know that Gwen is his daughter yet. And he couldn't get out of Autumn for some reason, you know? But this also tracks because remember he says to Cassian in the Band of Exiles manor, he says that, you know, Baron is going to meet with the queens and he will only tell him specific details and stuff. But then we find out that Eris also has spies everywhere and he's playing the line with this alliance. And he's the one that found Azriel in the Autumn Court and all this stuff. So he's very sneaky. And I don't feel like he would give up everything to Cassian and, you know, the Band of Exiles either. I don't know. I'm like, did his spies find out oh, Breland is gonna try to, you know, put this chick in the blood right as revenge or something like that. I feel like he overheard something with Baron, because who was the one, you know, other than Farah, that kind of threatened / I don't know, I guess insulted Baron at the meeting, but Nesta. Remember, she was the one that's like, "You're a coward," and da 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 da, and you have to fight with us. And Eris and Lady Autumn was like, "Yes," and he was like, "I'll decide if I want to fight in your war." And like, I was like, yeah, he would have no qualms about letting Briolin kill Nesta, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right?
Dating.
But I thought that was such an interesting theory. And I'm going to have to send you the link because like she goes over all of the quotes and like how the maid dagger is described versus how Eris's dagger during the Koshi scene is described, and all the quotes saying, "Oh, a maid weapon will protect you from other maid objects." And I was like, how did I forget this? How did I forget this?
I mean,
So
I personally go ahead, Eka.
Oh, but does that mean that Elaine's ring would protect her from maid objects?
I would assume so, if it's a maid object. Yeah. Unless they're just assuming that, but I don't know. I don't know.
I would love that theory actually so much. Like, really, really would bring a new depth to Eris's
Yes.
character, and that would be just amazing.
And like he's always been so weird with Nesta. It's not even just like the sexual tension, but it was always like, "Oh, you didn't check to see what's under Ramiel," and "Oh, you didn't do this," and "Don't you dare go do that by yourself," and all this stuff. "Don't you dare go see Lanthus by yourself," and all this stuff. And obviously they went anyway. But it's like he knew these things were gonna happen, and I was like, how many fucking seers are in this series? Because it's getting weird. I'm like, is it Lady Autumn helping him? I would love that. My personal theory after I heard this one was like, okay, but if the dagger that he had during the Koshi scene gave off some sort of maid vibe that Azriel couldn't tell the difference, right? Then maybe it was like kind of like Goldrun, like Aylin's sword, like how you know how she put her power into the sword and then she like killed Maeve with it and everything. So it wasn't like a made sword by the cauldron, but it was like made with her power. So I was like, what if the dagger that he had was like Lady Autumn's dagger and she put her power into it to try to protect him from stuff?
Aww.
Right?
I love it. Yeah.
But then I'm like, they stole it because they think it's the maid dagger that Nesta made. They stole it back. So I don't know.
Did I tell you guys what? And now I have this like crack like theory that like Azriel's mom and like Lady A and like Rhysand's mom and like we're all a part of this group that they were like seers or whatever.
All this like
And
a coven of
yeah,
witches.
they were like a part of this like secret witch coven, and they used to like meet up and stuff. Now I'm like
Dude.
convinced. And Tamlin's mom, like
Mom. I would love that. Dude, we need that so bad.
can somebody like write that in one of their books that there's like a secret mom witch coven?
Dude, I should write that in my
Mom.
crossover fic.
Yes. Right.
I was
That'd
actually
be so bomb.
I was actually gonna have Tamlin like find one of his mom's like diaries or whatever and for like the Tog lore.
I love that.
But then I also had the thought, I wrote this down the other day under season 3 notes. It's weird that all of the moms had like some sort of object connected to them in a way. Like we know that Rhys's mom had obviously the necromancy ring. We know that Azriel's mom maybe told him where Truth Teller was or had Truth Teller from their line, right? And then Lady Autumn, she could literally have anything. She has all the knowledge, which is funny that she's Helian's mate because he has all the libraries and he's all the knowledge stuff. So I love that too because it's like mates are equals. So Lady A has all the tea. All the tea. And then Tamlin's mom, I don't know, I guess the Starlight Pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what do all of these things, like, I don't know. Is this like the mother trying to apologize to the females for not giving them power because she's afraid of them being corrupted like Thea, or I don't know. I can't figure it out.
I know. I like want this to happen now in the books. You know what I mean? Like the mom's like awesome mom lore just coming forward, you know?
The mom coven.
The mom.
Yeah.
It would be so
I love
cool
it.
if there was like, it would be so cool if it was like, you know, there were Illyrian women and Hewn City women and Autumn Court women and like all these fucking oppressed women that were just secretly meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
I love it. Like, yeah.
like I feel like of all of the moms, I feel like Lady Autumn would have like a secret like dungeon, like a secret lair. Like where it's just so warded that Baron has no idea it exists.
She has to. She's got to have like some little secret getaway. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Like a little small shack in the woods somewhere, or you know.
Yeah, and I'm still convinced that the Weaver, that all the heirlooms that the Weaver has were from witch females. That they're witch objects. Like,
well, it's like so. Like it's weird to me. I forget you guys because it's been a while since I read about the Weaver. But like, does she collect that stuff, or is it just like common practice that people come and bring things to her?
they bring
To be
them to her
protected.
for protection.
Yeah. So it's
Right?
weird that there's like tons of people that bring their belongings to the Weaver. We should do like a Weaver focus episode.
We need to try to figure out that fucking song too, because I still can't figure it out.
I know. I watch her be
It's been like 10
she's
years.
forgotten.
The stupid Weaver song. Like, who is it?
I could tell you. It's based off of a Northumberland myth. The Twa Corbies.
What does it say in it?
It's two sisters. There's a knight that is really impressed by the younger one, and the older one gets jealous, so she kills her sister. And then later in the myth, she becomes a Vile, and then she haunts her sister.
We also have Lydia's myth of, you know, the princess that turns into like an owl and then I don't know, whatever,
Yeah.
bird, and that was shot by like this prince that was obsessed with her or whatever, and then she kills him. I don't know. I forget that whole story, but like that was weird too. I was like, where are these coming from? Like, are these just stupid little stories, or are they actually going to come into play?
So I always thought that the owl was like Lydia. Am I wrong? That like she was the owl and that like that was her life story. I want to know
Can I say something really dark?
what?
If we're thinking that Elaine could be the owl, because remember Maeve had an owl, and if Elaine is like Rhysand's owl, right? The prince that's obsessed with her, tracking her down through all the realms. Azrael, I don't know. I don't want that at all, but I'm just like, I see the mirror. But I see the mirror. No, I don't, unless Azrael gets under the influence of a maid thing like the crown or something with Koshi.
I hate it. I hate that
Oh,
theory.
that
It's
makes
all about
sense.
Lydia.
That makes sense. Koshi wants Elaine. So if he took control of Azrael, he could use Azrael to track her down.
Like, is she that freaking hot that like everybody wants her?
Apparently, the Cauldron purrs, Highburn purrs, Azrael purrs, Koshi purrs. They all want Elaine.
Yeah.
Like, what is so. I wonder if the cauldron's gift to her was like not like a light singer, but I wonder if she's kind of like a succubus. Like succubus are kind of creepy, but like I don't know. Maybe she has some sort of luring aura too.
That'd be wild. That'd be wild if she brought that into the books.
I mean, I could see more being a succubus, honestly.
Well, yeah, duh.
Duh.
I could,
Or like a banshee. That would be cool. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm like Lydia's story just I don't know, it just reminds me of Elaine and Koshi and Asriel and Koshi wanting Asriel and it freaks me out.
I have to remember like that scares me now that you say it because I'm remembering the story. It's like she was shifting into all these different animals.
Yeah.
Like she went from being like an owl to like a fawn or stag, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Fuck. Yeah.
Right? And they were like he was like shooting at her or something with the arrow. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That sucks.
I could see that. I could see it. I could see it with Koshi. And like it could be like if we think that Koshi does have some sort of control over Elaine, like he could be the one shifting her.
Oh boy. So
right?
like
Because he did turn Vasa into a bird for half the day.
Yeah, watch Koshi be like this like smoking hot like this
like Lanthus.
Hot,
creepy like, but hot.
Prince of I don't know if it's Prince of Hell or just like a Asteri, but one of them.
Yeah. Like the Valg King. They can literally shift into whatever form they want.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I think it was really hilarious that he chose like this raggedy old man.
Old man.
like this raggedy ass, like wizardy looking Gandalf guy.
What if Amren is Koshi?
That'd be so.
That would be.
I mean,
she was a bird creature during the war.
I still think she just saw Vasa's form and then took Vasa's form.
Or Koshi molded Vasa after Amren.
Yeah, that too. Because remember when we said that like they technically would have had to know each other?
Yeah.
Koshi and Amren must know each other.
Like, why does she never talk about it? She never talks about him.
Is she like, don't talk about me in the prison and everywhere else because like Koshi is like gonna hunt for her the minute he gets off that lake? I don't know.
They will remember they have not caught me. Lanthus, Vesperus, Koshi, the bone carver. Like, and I do not believe for 1 second, I know I've said this a million times, but I do not believe for 1 second that she lost all her powers. We were made to believe that Nesta did, and she didn't.
Yeah, that was wild.
And I keep going back to that last scene when Feyre goes to her apartment and I forget what the exact wording was, but she mentioned like, oh, like that faint glow of Amren's eyes, almost like it was before, or something like that. And I was like, liar! She's a liar! I'm like, you can't tell me. But I think that she was kind of preparing this too, because she's very cunning. And so when she said, oh, the only part I couldn't get right was the eyes. And then like after the whole cauldron thing, her eyes are just normal gray. Obviously, she lost all her powers because her eyes are just normal gray. I was like, that was a little too convenient to be talking about how you couldn't fix your eyes.
I think it's the opposite. I think she gained enough power to where she could figure out how to change her eyes.
Oh.
That could be too. Oh yeah. What if she took from the cauldron too?
Oh.
Dude, she would be like, I know she was kind of like made before, but she really wasn't. She was just like a higher power, right? So like Amren is made now too. And so is Jurian. Everyone is forgetting about Jurian. It's
Miriam?
hilarious.
You forget Miriam was made too.
I don't know if she was made. I don't.
Oh,
Well,
she was.
she was. He brought her back to life with one of the Trove, but he kept her human. He only gave her immortality.
She was still made.
I feel like they won't come back. I hope they don't come back. I was so bored of
Well,
them.
I know they were weird, but they have to come back because they have the cauldron or whatever, right?
I'm
They
done
have
with
to.
I'm done with the cauldron. Can we forget about the cauldron?
I mean, they'll be mentioned.
I know.
Especially if the cauldron's obsessed with Elaine
I know.
and like, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm like,
I feel clean.
See, I don't want the cauldron to come back because then that just gives the Vassian stands more fucking fuel. Because they're like, they can just dump Vassa in the cauldron and then she can just be Lucian's mate. And I was like, fuck off. First of all, if we throw anyone else in the cauldron, that's going to be so anticlimactic. Can we stop throwing people in the cauldron?
Yeah, can we stop putting people in the Lazarus pit? That just seems lame.
Yeah. Like, it's been done. It was done like 5 times. We're done. Nobody else is going in the cauldron. Nobody else.
We're not going into the magical bathtub.
All right, hello. Our last session was a fucking clusterfuck. Yeah, we were sick and my mic didn't work and Olivia was falling asleep and we kept stuttering and we got 0% of usable content. We were all like in a hallucinogenic state, I swear to fuck. Like we didn't make any sort of sense. So anyways, we're attempting again. We're a little better. I still have a cough, clearly. But other than that, I'm better. I got to film with Antoinette the other day. We did a collab for our podcast. I told you girls this. It's at Antoinette Cialopes on Instagram and TikTok. And her new podcast is Literary Guillotine on Instagram. And so we did this collab, and basically we were just, chatting about Reese and everything because we're probably like the 2 biggest Reese criticizers ever. And we just went off, but she was saying how she listens to true crime podcasts. And there was this one about this cult. And basically this girl was 4 years old, I think, when her mother joined this cult. And so when she grew up, the cult leader started having sex with her and he impregnated her and all this stuff. And so she was telling me how basically this girl didn't really realize how fucked up it was when it was happening to her. But then once she got pregnant with her daughter, it was like some mother's instinct kicked in and she's like, this is so fucked up. I need to leave for my child. And so she was saying, this reminds me so much of Farah and with the inner circle and now with Nyx. And I said, if Reese's Valg comes out and I don't know, he's more, which we know he's more unhinged, even in Hofas. But if his Valg finally kind of comes out and Nyx is threatened, will Farah finally do something? If it's not for her, but for her child. Because she didn't even yell at Reese about the pregnancy thing, which I hate. Off page, I guess she talked to him, but that was not enough for me.
And then they had Chris down south.
Mm-hmm.
I hated that so much. She was like, oh, well, I scolded him and he's sorry. Because that was when she was talking to Cassian mind to mind before the fucking hike. And she's like, well, he's sorry. I'm like, no, do not speak for this man. Do you even recognize what he fucking did to you? And you're speaking for him. And then she finally admitted at the end, oh yeah, he's secretly pleased you're punishing Nesta. So then he's not fucking sorry. He's not sorry at all. He's literally just taming you.
Mm-hmm.
So So I wonder if like if something happens with Nyx, will she finally fucking stand up and do something?
I'm gonna laugh if she goes south to Tamlin's place and be like, I have nowhere to go.
I'm still convinced that she's gonna be like, spring is the farthest court away while we're dealing with this shit, and my mate, like, Nyx is gonna have to be in spring for a bit.
Why do you guys think that? Because I don't think I don't think SJM would ever do that.
Well, because it's the farthest court away from the conflict. And if he's a baby and she wants to protect her baby, is she gonna really put her pettiness before her child? Or would she finally do something? Because she technically forgave Tamlin with the letter, right?
Oh no. Yeah, she didn't forgive him.
I hope you find happiness too. Yeah, well, now I'm your child's babysitter, so.
I mean, I guess I could see that making sense. Like if Rhys turns 100%, yeah, and then even Henry kind of said that, like, I think he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Protect doing what he's doing. So, like, obviously, Tamlin's gonna protect Nyx. Like, we all know that's coming.
Yeah. I don't think he's gonna die, but I do think that, he's gonna have some part of Nyx's storyline. And just because like babies can kind of sense things, kind of like animals. Like if you're ever at a house with like a cat or a dog and like the animal knows if you're not a cat person or a dog person, they're all over you, right? So I feel like if Nyx is like, oh, my parents don't like this person, I'm just gonna attach myself to him. Like babies do that too. They'll like attach to the most random people that usually don't give off like, oh, I love you so much vibes, They'll like attach themselves to like the crankier person and like the person that like doesn't really baby them as much, I guess. So I feel like it would be hilarious if Nyx is like just winnowing all over Prythian and just keeps going a spring, keeps going a spring, and is like, puppy!
I keep thinking of The Incredibles and Jack is little Nyx, and Aaron is that's
Edna.
I love that. I want that scene so bad.
Edna mode. No kidding.
And I feel like Helion is like Frozone.
Yes.
No. Wait, yeah, he would be.
Yeah. He's like the wingman. He's
And then Lady Autumn is like, I just escaped Baron, get your ass home. I'm the greatest good you are ever gonna get.
I love it.
Oh my God. But yeah, it was just like the whole cult thing was like so eerie when you think of like the inner circle even. Like, look what they did to Nesta. They tried to shove her in their box. Like, you have to be a good little inner circle member. You have to be a good little loyal dog to Rhys. And it's just weird. On so many levels. It's weird.
I hope she addresses it. Like, outwardly.
I hope she has Azriel address it. As the rebel. As the one that will often put people above Rhys. I want it so bad. I told you, I want him and Nesta to move to Dusk. But also Elaine as a seer, like if she sees the shit that he did under the mountain, I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for her to go fucking off.
I think she's definitely going to go off. I don't know, though, that it would necessarily be on Rhysand because I honestly believe that Rhys and Elaine, like each of the sisters has a best friend. It's gonna be Rhysand and Elaine, absolutely. Like, and it even has foreshadowing with Rhys saying like, at least Elaine's really nice, and I think his sister was probably like that too.
This
so
is why I worry about both Elaine and Gwen because he has pretty major scenes with both of them. And I've seen arguments where it's like, oh, both of them are going to be his buddy or whatever. And I'm like, can we not have a love interest attached to fucking Reese? Like,
I
just
don't
one.
think Gwen would.
Well, Gwen blushed and she was like, "My lord." I was like, "Gwen." And then when he was threatening Nesta, when he was like, "Don't you dare hurt Gwen." Yeah, she's gonna hurt her. That's why she's
What
there. Fuck her.
I what if Gwen finds out what Reese has been doing to Nesta?
Mm.
Well, didn't she kind of already find out? Didn't Nesta tell them? Like, she was like, "Oh, I was a wretch and my family hated me when they were doing the blood rites." You guys remember that?
Yeah, she's very vague about it though. She doesn't
Yeah.
ever go into specifics.
Yeah, that's true.
And she always blames herself too, which is weird. I hate that. I literally hate that. This is why like, as much as I love Nesta, like right now she's still so depressed that she's like, okay, well, if I just fit into their mold, they'll love me. And I hate
She's
that mentality. So I need Elaine to be the one to be like, no, this shit isn't right. This is weird as fuck. Like, what is happening? And with Lucian's help, too. Because as much as Lucian is like frenemies with Feyre, he's also an outside perspective. So he can see things from an outside perspective. He could tell Elaine about Under the Mountain. He could tell Elaine about, Tamlin and Feyre's relationship, what he's been through, what Reese did, all this shit. And like, he's not a part of the inner circle. So it's not like, he'd just be saying things to make them look good.
I don't know, because when he first arrived there, he was surprised that, there was, I think he's confused right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he is also, he's called the clever fox so
Mhm.
much. He knew that if he didn't play nice, they wouldn't let him see Elaine.
That's true.
And then, like, even in his mind, when he's like, oh, he told the Shadow Singer everything about the Autumn Court, but his mother's secrets remain wholly personal. So, like, even when he's kind of on their side, he's still keeping his cards close. And I love that for him, honestly. And then when he was like, you can be just as much of an asshole as your mate to Feyre. So he knows they're still fucking dickheads. Like, you can have a nice city and still be a bad leader.
Oh, yeah. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah. But I don't know. I need him to really talk to Elaine. Like, I need her to really talk to him and, like, listen. So and oh, another part of the session that we did, the end part of it, where, first of all, we got cut off anyway because we were all kind of falling asleep. So I don't even know what we said or where we ended off. But I mentioned that I realized the other day that when Elaine went in the cauldron, she was wearing her engagement ring. And I said that what if it's like a made object? And what power does it have? And if it has a power, what power is it? Or is it like the Spring Court masks with Amarantha's curse? And can she just not take it off? And is it affecting her somehow?
I do love that. I do love that theory. And I haven't seen anyone else talk about it either.
Mm-mm. I was like rereading it and I was like, they keep saying like, oh, the iron ring glinted dully on her finger. Oh, the engagement ring lay on her finger. Oh, she was twisting the ring around on her finger. And I was like, that's why they're harping on the fucking engagement ring. It was in the cauldron with her. Ah! So can she not take it off? It's still on in ACOFAFers. I'm pretty sure it's still on during the bonus scene with Azriel, too.
And when Sarah was like, oh, I spilled the tea, what was on her fingers?
Yes! The crimson and cobalt rings. So technically, Elaine in her amethyst gown would be the amethyst, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What if what if she was pro-Elution, then switched it to appease the masses.
I doubt it.
I hope not.
There's
I'm
no
I'm
way.
like highly concerned about that because of Hofast when she's like, yeah, that part where she's like the cauldron, where she was hinting at the cauldron being corrupted. I was like, oh, don't you
She
do
was
it.
not hinting at that. She said, I don't know if I want to dabble in the difference between fate and choice, or is it always both? Like with Phazand, it was both. I guess you could say with Nissian, if you believe their mate bond, it was both. The sisters are going to end up with their mates because they're the sisters.
I know, but like you heard her say that the cauldron was corrupted, and Azrael did question. So I'm concerned she's been peer pressured. I'm worried about it.
But again, the cauldron being corrupted has nothing to do with mate bonds because the mate bonds are not from the cauldron. They have nothing to do with the cauldron.
No, some of them are from the cauldron.
It's the mother.
Reese says that the cauldron.
No, Reese
He like brings it up.
Reese guesses. He says fate, the mother, the cauldron swirling eddies, trails off. And Farrah's like, seriously. And then she's like, what about them? And then she like points to them in the garden and shit. Like Reese has no idea. He's guessing. You know who does know? Fucking Adis and Thanatos and Apollyon when they specifically say, no, the mate bonds are from the higher power. And the cauldron needs the higher power to wield it. Like, Farrah had to become a conduit for the mother to fix the cauldron. Because the mother has reign over the cauldron still, even though it's tainted by the Asteri. So the mother is the one who makes the mate bonds, not the cauldron.
But the mother made the cauldron, right? Like she definitely made the cauldron, so it's half the mother, half the Asteri, because it was, and even Vespers talked about it too.
Yeah, but I think the cauldron has to do with like magic and life, because the mother made the cauldron to create the world, technically, like the lands and the High Lords and stuff like that, the magics. I don't see that really as the same thing. I think like there's different levels to things. Because remember the mural, like, oh, the female hands poured it forth, and then all of Prythian poured from the blah 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 blah. Whatever. But that like it said nothing about mate bonds. And it said nothing.
Well, it didn't, but then you have to think about the scene with Hybern in context when the girls, Elaine and Nesta, go in, right? Like she goes in and then comes out of the cauldron, and immediately there was a mate bond between her and Lucian. So I think it's safe to say that going into the cauldron and being with the mother, you can have a mate bond. Absolutely.
But again, we've been over the scene. They felt the mate bond before she went in the cauldron. Yeah, it's from birth. They say it in Crescent City and in ACOTAR that mate bonds are from birth. That the Fae used to have mate bonds with the humans before the wall. That's why so many humans got cut off from their mates. That it's from birth. That's why Reese could see Farrah's hands painting when she was younger.
It was so
dreams of her. It's from birth.
That's why it was so rare.
It was only rare because they were cut off from the humans with the wall. So like Reese was Farrah's mate from birth. Hunt was Bryce's mate from birth. Lucian was Elaine's mate from birth. And he felt it before she went in the cauldron when the guards grabbed her arms. That's why he screamed and he bellowed for her and he roared or whatever. And then he lunged for Elaine while Tamlin attacked the king. But then he leashed both of them so they couldn't help.
Also, while human Farrah was being killed, Reese did the same thing. He roared her name.
Exactly. It was pre-death. The first, it's like the first fatal moment of their lives, I feel like, is when it kind of kicks up. Because that's a good thing that I want to bring up, the mirror between Phazan and Lucian, because like you said, when Farrah was dying, he was roaring her name and he was struggling to get to her, same as Lucian. But then all of that stops and they do get killed, and it doesn't actually snap until they're fully Fae. But they could feel it beforehand. It just wasn't as strong because they were human. But like Reese's didn't snap until she met him under the mountain at night on the balcony, remember? Because he like went wide-eyed and then he winnowed away. And then Lucian and Elaine's didn't snap until he put his cloak over her after she had come out of the cauldron. But they did feel it beforehand when they were human, which had nothing to do with the cauldron because when Feyre died, she went in the cauldron. When Elaine died, she went in the cauldron, but it was felt before that. So it's a from birth bond that they're just born with. Like fate determines your mate before you're born. So it's not a being killed in the cauldron thing. Because if it was, then technically Fae and Fae wouldn't be able to be mates either. And they are. Like Vivian and Callias. They're just born Fae and they were mates. You know? That was that spiel.
So that also
Go ahead,
that
Eka.
that also means that Briar and Tamlin.
From birth! From birth! That's why he was drawn to her in her almost fatal moment. I'm telling you. The wind power. And he roared in beast form. He roared.
Mm-hmm. So ready for their.
I'm so ready for
Oh,
the story.
I don't think Cassian did.
We didn't. He didn't.
Yes, he did. He did. When they were in the manor in that bonus chapter, him and Nesta, and she was human. They were drawn to each other. It was
When
the
did
same thing
he
that
roar for her, though? He
he
didn't.
did. He crawled with shredded wings to the cauldron. You
Boring.
are in
That's not
such
the
denial.
That
That's
is
not the same. Okay, even more roared for Azriel. Like,
No,
Cassian
you can't
twitching on the
use
floor.
you can't use your same argument to support two people and not the third. They did the same thing. Cassian was literally pulling his body towards the cauldron with blood-drenched wings. Absolutely,
No,
it was
he
the
didn't. He
same.
reached out for her, and then after he makes it clear, I didn't keep my promise. I made her a promise. I made her a promise. He did that because he made her a promise. It wasn't because he felt anything.
he felt things, but not with the correct body.
Thinking with his dick. No, but yeah, he didn't like it's not it was not the same scene as Phazand and Illusion at all.
He roared for Tamlin, not for Nesta.
That is true. That is true. He did. He fought them. He fought a shit ton of Illyrians to try to get to Tanwin. They had to beat him unconscious and tie him to a fucking wagon. But yet, a little ripping his wings is gonna, I don't know. But also, if you want to go with that argument, right? How we said that Nesta made a bond between her and Cassian, right? Let's say that happened in ACOWAR and not ACOSF. That would make sense because Nesta roared for Cassian during the war.
She did.
But right before a near fatal blow.
Mm-hmm.
However, the only thing I have with that is that we know Nesta's magic is innately connected to the cauldron. And she was like throwing up, like she could feel the cauldron. So I don't know if that was just her knowing that that was going to happen and because she could feel the cauldron going to explode. Whereas, like with Reese and Lucian, like they're not connected to the cauldron. It was more of a mate bond thing. So I don't know. It could just be her connection to the cauldron. But that was kind of a mirror there. And then again, going back to ACOSF chapter 22, which is a good chunk of chapters deep into ACOSF 22. And Cassian's like, oh, he's holding out for a mate bond like Feyre and Reese have. So he did not have one, or he did not think or feel that he had one pre-chapter 22 or in
And
chapter 22
a lot
of
quicker than
ACOFAFers. Huh?
it would have been a lot quicker than that.
Yeah. He never got an official snap because, again, we know on page when they snap, Reese stumbled, his eyes widened, he went out. Lucian stumbled, his eyes widened. It was the same thing. We never got an official snap with Cassian. We never got the shock, the stumbling, the stuttering, like none of that. It was weird. But I do find it odd, which I'll bring up one more time because I think I brought this up uh last season. But the fact that um even after Akawar when Nesta roars for Cassian, in Akasif, after the whole threads thing, which we've gone over a million times, Nesta is the one that feels a frenzy, not Cassian. Cassian doesn't feel a frenzy, but Nesta feels a frenzy because that's why she had the sleepover, to stave off her horniness. Because Emery walks in the room and she's like, girl, I know exactly why you called this fucking sleepover. And she's like, let me tell you about Wingspan, girl, which you probably already know by the look of you. Emery! I want to know Emery's dating history. I want to know her tea. Because how did you figure that out, girl? How did you figure that out? Everyone says Emery's gay. There's no fucking way Emery is
She's
gay.
bi, but
Yeah.
she's truly bi, not like
Yeah.
more.
But they're like, she doesn't like men, and it's so obviously that obvious that she's only into women. Like, bitch, she told Nesta the lore about Wingspan. There is no way. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Yeah, I mean I agree with you guys. I think Emery could be like the true bi character of the series. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And she does read those romance books a lot.
Hmm.
I
I don't know. I just feel like it's weird at this point for SJM to do that because she did it with Helion and she did it with Moore and she doesn't utilize them. So why would she do it with someone else just to, I don't know. Because I will not accept Moore being with Emery. Don't even say it. Don't even say it. Don't even say it. Do not say it.
Not
I found somebody who agreed with me, an artist on Instagram. She did art of the Valkyries with like you guys probably didn't see the Grammys, but Taylor Swift wore this dress with like a chain with Travis's initial on her thigh, which guilty as sin, the Illusion song. But she drew the Valkyries in that dress with like the chains of like their lovers or whatever. And so obviously she did like Azriel for Gwen and she did like Cassian for Nesta. And then for Emery, she just did V for Valkyrie because she's like, I refuse to put her with more. I said, thank God someone else thinks the same way. She touches my girl with the 10-foot pole and I want her dead. No, no, she's not being with the person that said her best friend should rot in Hewn City. Fuck that. Emery is a good friend. Like, I can't see her being with someone like that. And I'll be really pissed at SJM if she does that, honestly. Because Moore never apologized. She's never said, oh, maybe I said something too harsh. And she's never even tried to understand Nesta, even going forward after Akasif.
I mean, she helped her to dance, and she did say, he's pretty, isn't he? But that's not an apology.
Yeah. And she only taught her how to dance so that she could seduce Eris for Reese. Oh, you'll make him crawl by the end of it, which was basically more just being petty over Eris again, like usual, and wanting them to fuck him over.
Yeah.
You know, which was so annoying. I wanted to I wrote something the other day. I had it in my notes. Oh, but really quick, going back to the ring. What do you think Elaine's engagement ring can do or is doing? to her, I guess.
The fact that she is all shiny and the ring itself is dull, I think stands out a lot.
I can't tell if, see, this is where the cauldron being corrupted comes in for me. Because could the cauldron have turned it into a Valg ring?
I don't know if it's a Valg ring.
Because technically, like the King of Otterlin and Caltaine and Parrington and the people that they gave those rings to couldn't really take them off, right?
Let me put it this way. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Valg ring. However,
Hmm.
I kind of feel like it made Elaine a death god.
Mm. Well,
Sim-
actually, iron does affect Fae in Tog, right? It's an
in
iron
Todd,
ring.
but here's the thing. Koshi has his mortality, his soul in different objects. I think Elaine's soul is in that ring.
Yeah,
I
I was gonna say
Elaine's soul or Koshi's soul is in that ring.
Koshi's soul fragment that's affecting
Elaine.
Elaine. Yeah. When we said that we thought that she had a piece of it. Oh, yes. Because I think iron and Tog it drains their magic, right? Sort
Yeah.
of.
So does salt. Salt prevents their healing.
Mm. So if it's an iron ring and she can't take it off and it has a fragment of Koshi's soul, and like what if it's just leeching her magic? Or like, I don't know, or Koshi could be sending her these visions that she thinks are natural. 'Cause she's like, "Oh, I think I'm dreaming all the time." And then like her first weird thing was in the room with Lucian when she was like, "All the girls, they're swans, but there's another one that's different." And she was talking about like Bassa and the swans, and Koshi's like, and then she's like, "I can hear earthworms crawling in the soil." And I was like, "Okay." And the wings flapping. And I was
Like,
like, "All right, Caltaine, pipe down."
lay off the shrooms, Elaine.
Yeah. So like she really reminded me of Caltaine in that moment. It was creepy.
That's true.
Yeah. And the cloak and the coat, I'm just like, she has Lucian's coat. Just like Caltaine kept Aylin's cloak. Yeah. It's worrying me, honestly.
Oh,
That's not a good like thing to be associating Elaine with Caltaine
I
at all.
know.
I
I
cried.
know.
I cried when Altaine died.
Died. I still
Like,
I still have a body. I still don't think they're dead.
is Elaine gonna be the one that dies? Is this are
But
we all wrong?
I'm okay. I'm still convinced that Caltaine is Azriel's mother. And this makes sense when you think about my theory that Azriel kind of recognized Elaine being a seer and popped off to ask his mom, and then popped back and is like, she's a seer. Right? I don't know. I still think Caltaine is his mom. I'm gonna stay delusional about that. Because I think that that's the Caltaine Cormac mirror because they both had, well, Caltaine had fire magic, and then it was turned into shadow fire. Cormac had shadows and fire, and they both blew up in a building, and we're supposed to believe they're dead. I don't believe they're dead. I believe they're both in Prythian. Um, but yeah, just poor Caltaine. Poor fucking
But
Caltaine.
Altaine is Azriel's mom. How did she become Illyrian?
It's never actually said that she's Illyrian. I think everyone just assumes she's Illyrian because she was raped by an Illyrian. But we don't know like what her job was or whatever, so
Hmm.
I mean, I think she probably is Illyrian, but I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I feel like Caltaine wasn't I feel like she didn't have enough page time. Like she would have made a really good witch. Not like a Iron Teeth witch or anything, but like a spells, curses type witch, you know. I don't know.
Like a croaking.
Yeah, like a Croaken witch. And therefore maybe she could summon wings at some point. I don't know. Just a thought. I still think it would be cool if Caltaine was his mom. But it doesn't really go with my theory that she was also Reese's mother's sister, which I kind of like that one a little better, that they're first cousins. Um,
Mm.
oh yeah, this other little thought that I write shit down in my notes when I think of them randomly to bring up because I know that I'm always gonna forget. I put, this is so sad. I put Lucian was trembling in the dining room scene when Reese was toying with Feyre in Akatar. Realized that he could be seeing this as a parallel to Jasminda being in his father's grasp because he was equally helpless to do anything for her. And that made me sad. He was trembling when Reese invaded Feyre's mind. Ugh. And like because he literally was helpless to do anything because he's like kneel and then yeah like you know and like his brothers held him back when Baron had Jasminda, so it's like trauma, PTSD. I think that's why Lucian was so scared in that moment. And also Reese brought up Jasminda too, which low blow, asshole. I know
Helen
you like to stoop low with your lovers, but what would the lady of the Autumn Court say, stooping to a human? Mortal trash. Like, you're bringing up Jasminda and his mom. Fuck you. That's awful. Oh, that was my other big one. Like the Elaine Ring thing. Yeah, okay. I am on my fourth read of Hope Fast, which I think I told you, because the graphic audio came out and I wanted to Jerian. And I wanted to read it with the graphic audio. Only part one is out so far for Hofast, but I wanted to start it with the graphic audio. And so I reread the end of Crescent City 2 into Crescent City 3, just kind of for the whole arc bit, whatever. And I completely forgot that was it Rune? I think it was Rune. It was Rune. When Rune hugs Bryce goodbye and says, "Long live the Queen." Do you remember what he does? What? What does he do?
Are you talking about dropping the crystal in her pocket?
He drops the fucking calm crystal in her pocket. And then I'm reading the beginning of Hofast, and what does Azriel say? Because she asks where the Star Sword is, and he says, "We have all of your belongings. It's safe." Reese still has the fucking calm crystal. Currently.
Wait, so because I never finished Hofast. One day I will get to it. But did she? I thought for some reason that it said that she brought the calm crystal back. It didn't.
They only gave her back the Star Sword. Like, that was the only thing she ever got back. She didn't even mention the crystal.
I would love. I know. I honestly think the next book is going to be. I would think it would be more like Lydia focused, right? Because I think she's going to tie in Tog. But if Reese is using the calm crystal, I don't know. I don't know. How he's going to find out about Lauren.
Wait, no. I think he's gonna try and use it to get in touch with Aelin and be like, "Yo, why did you come as a comet? Like, what's your deal?"
Yeah, but the Tog World didn't have tech at that point. I mean, it could now, I guess, but they wouldn't know who he is, technically. I think I think the calm crystal is going to be used by Cormac to let them know he's alive.
Is that why you think that Reese has it? Because he's
He
not
does
done.
have it. He took all her shit and she only got back the sword. He has to have it. Him or Asriel or wherever they put the shit. Could be Az.
Asriel, I think Asriel has it.
It would be so funny. Oh my God, Asriel like secretly voice texting the only other shadow singer in existence.
But like, I feel like okay, so I feel like if Azrael has the calm crystal, it's not gonna be Cormac.
Like,
He's gonna be like, "Yo, Bryce, I'm ready to come to your clubs. Let me, let me come dance with you guys right now." And
please,
he'll be like,
sing a shitty
Yeah,
music.
but they couldn't figure out how to use her phone. How are they gonna figure out how to that a crystal is like they don't even know what like walkie-talkies
"Oh,
are.
they'll figure it out somehow. I just know they will."
Sarah's gonna just fucking forget about the crystal.
She's gonna
And
forget
we're
about the
like, what about
crystal.
the crystal?
So our next episode, we need to make a list of the things that Sarah's gonna forget about. It starts with Vaughn. Right underneath that, it's gonna be Lucian's jacket. That Elaine has Lucian's jacket. She has no idea.
The necklace.
Alice,
The ring.
the ring,
Claire,
Hamlin's mother's ring.
Claire,
Yeah, Reese's mother's ring. Tamlin's mother's ring.
Claire better.
Oh. Oh, she's done with Claire. She was done with Claire in ACOWAR. She's like, this bitch is never being brought up again.
I'm
Mary,
also convinced Briar may or may not make it on that list. I'm sorry, but
Balthazar.
Balthazar, don't forget about them.
no, I think Miriam and Dracon are gonna be forgotten.
I hope
Yes.
they are because I just can't. I just fucking hate them. They're so useless.
They were like
I
a
don't
really
care.
weird side plot. It was
I feel
bizarre.
like she
Like, like while there was war happening, they were just up hovering with Reese, talking in the air, like just shooting the shit. And it's like, ma'am, I need you to get on with writing the rest of the story. What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
Well, considering the fact that SJM kind of solidified the crossover when she was writing ACOWAR, and knowing that the first draft of HOFAS was supposed to incorporate the Seraphim and the Peregrine with all of the, you know, the angels from HOFAS, I think that's why she added them in, and then she just ended up not using them.
I mean, did they cross into Crescent City and said, screw Prythian? Like,
Where is Credia? Where is it?
It's also
knows?
weird. It's also weird that like the cauldron is literally on their eye. Like they gave the cauldron to Miriam and Dracon, two of the most useless characters in the entire series. So basically,
It's just hidden on their island that nobody can fucking find, even Reese. That's helpful.
and
That's
then
helpful.
like yeah, but we all know that like somehow Koshi is gonna be tied to that island because he's tied to the cauldron somehow.
I don't know. Ugh.
And like his
Can I just make mention that the one person in the center of all of this bullshit is Moore?
yes.
She was Miriam and Dracon's friend. She hated Jurian. She was entrenched in the Clithia and Jurian and Amarantha and Miriam thing, and then the Dracon thing. And like, I want to point out, which I sent you in a voice note today because I was pissed. I want to point out that Moore literally allowed Amarantha to take Reese hostage twice. Not once, twice. The first time they were in their 20s. Reese was not High Lord yet, which means Moore had more power than Reese at this point, and she didn't even try to save him from Amarantha. She was still that apex predator that she is now. She didn't even attempt.
That's saying something.
Right? His
She
father, who
gonna be
didn't even give a fuck about him except for being the heir, his father had to go and save him from
Here,
Amaranth.
lay down. Lay
And
down.
then he's like, I'm leaving the ash arrows in your wings to show you that you fucked up, boy. Which is very much giving Baron and Eris, but Moore said nothing about that. But Reese is like, oh, he made Cassian and Azriel leave the ash arrows in my wings for weeks as punishment for getting caught. Moore didn't try to help you?
Moore is staging a coup. Bet.
Moore didn't try to help you? Not once. But then the second time, she didn't think to say, well, you got captured by this bitch once. Maybe you shouldn't go to her party. Or take me with you because I'm your family and you're third. Like,
Yeah, I think.
you would think. And especially because Moore is kind of the youngest face of Hewn City, right? Hewn City is who Amarantha fashioned her court after.
Mm-hmm.
She would have known who Moore was. So the fact that she never tried to seek her out and she never saw Moore as a threat is very telling to me. Because weird.
If you think about Moore, she has like kind of infiltrated every single court in Prythian as well. Because like, so she's friends with Vivian and Callias. She has that like sexual thing with Helion.
And
She
Eris.
has an Eris in the Autumn Court. I don't know about Summer, but now she has Night and Dusk Court. So
Well,
like,
Summer is Amarin with Varian now.
that's right. We just don't have anything with Tamlin. That's the only thing.
And Thiessen. Thiessen's very neutral too.
Thiessen is very neutral. Very neutral. But she definitely is going around and like she has fingers and like, you know,
She
influence
knows
everywhere.
the Queen and King of Valahan.
Yeah.
And like all those people, but oh no, they're not signing the treaty. Are they not signing the treaty, or did you never ask them to sign the treaty?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very
It's weird.
sus of you. Very sus.
Weird.
And then Hybern even. What a mighty queen you are. What a prize. How does he know who you are?
But also
Ianthe, her thing with Ianthe. I swear.
oh, and her nitpicking with Nesta, I almost feel like there's way more to her hatred of Nesta than just like her behavior. I think it's like Nesta is like a power competition for her and she doesn't like it.
Well, she's the
You know?
truth person. She knows that Nesta's gonna be dubbed for Queen of Dusk.
Yeah.
She has to know.
Mhm.
And I think she probably knew in ACOFAFers. Because I think Moore knows a lot more of this history than Reese does. And I think that's why she wasn't in Hofas. She was away. Right?
Mhm.
Because even Azrael was like, oh, Reese doesn't know any of this. It's weird. Kier knew. Again, going back to Truth Teller, Kier knew. So what did Kier tell Moore growing up, knowing that she might be his heir? Because Kier, again, cringes away from Truth Teller. The whole of Hewn City does, actually, too, when Reese is sitting on the throne and Azrael is like this, and it says like they all kind of moved away from Truth Teller. And I'm like, they fucking know. And Kier did not tell Reese because he fucking hates him. But why did Moore not tell Reese is the question. Is she closer to Daddy than everybody thinks? Or is she just the witch queen from her mom's side? Or is she playing
What did Truth Teller?
the field?
What did Moore do did Moore ever do anything? Like, was Truth Teller ever turned on Moore?
No. Azrael was held it when Amryn was being weird, and Amryn goes, call off your dog. Amryn was pissed about Truth Teller in that scene. And then Moore said, like, oh, you know, Azrael's never given that dagger to anybody to use when he gave it to Elaine. Weird. Weird. Weird.
Very weird.
So I can't tell if it's like if she's purposely being obvious with Moore, or if Moore is literally the red herring and it's Amryn or Jurian or someone else that we've suspected. Because they're all suspicious. I think that's one thing that Sarah J. Maas does really well, is that she makes you believe that every single important person is suspicious. So you never actually truly know who it is until it's revealed.
That sucks.
Like Arabin, Rolf, like all of these people in Tog where we were like, they're all creepy and did it. And like Rolf ended up being a good guy and Arabin was super sicko. You know, she like plays these things. And even Manon, who started it as like this murdery, soulless person, ended up like having a heart by the end. So I can't tell if it's actually Moore or Amryn or Reese himself or Jurian. Like, they're all suspicious.
She's like the head of the witchy Holocaust. Like,
Yeah. They're all fucking sus. Ugh, it bothers me. Because right when I first finished Hofas, I was convinced it was Amryn. I was like, okay, Moore's a red herring. It's Amryn. And then, like, more time goes by, and I'm like, there's more for Moore. There's more for Jurian. There's more for literally Reese himself becoming more unhinged in Belgi. There could be Elaine and whatever's going on with her powers. You know, it could be anyone. We need the announcement, Sarah. Sarah J. Maas's birthday, March 5th. I'm going to be waiting with bated breath. We knew it wasn't going to be till after February, but I hope it is a birthday announcement. I hope.
Oh, I would love that so much.
Unless she pulls like an Ides of March.
Oh my gosh, that'd be
Can you imagine? I think the most badass thing she could do would be to announce it on the Ides of March and only write the quote without saying a name of someone dying. Like Julius Caesar. Et tu, Brute? Like, that would be badass. Et tu,
I'd be
Morgan.
serious.
That would be so cool. Because Cassian is gonna die, and I think it would be so cool, like how she said, like, oh, it would be really cool if he got in between like a fight with Reese and Moore or Reese and Nesta and like he just got killed, or because of Morrigan's betrayal he gets killed. That would be cool. I can't wait. I need the book. I would love for her to share an Aleutian quote and just the quote, nothing else.
Me too. Ugh.
Best. Oh my god. Like, Elaine was looking over Nesta's shoulder at Lucian, whose face she'd finally taken in. Period. And just watched the entire fucking tornado of Elreal.
I would be so up for that. Although
Up for that.
the chaos.
Oh my god.